the creation of the radiant Zahra, Fatima, al-Zahra, along with her father, her husband, and her sons, the 5 people of the cloak, al-Kaysa, were created 7,000 years before the creation of the world. They were lights encircling the divine throne, glorifying, sanctifying, and praising Allah. The essentina of these individuals was kneaded with the water of life, and then the souls of their followers, Shia and devotees, were created from the remainder of that same essence. After the creation of the radiant Zahra and before her birth, her guardianship, Walaya, was presented to the heavens and the earths. Those who accepted it were inscribed among the believers, and those who rejected it were inscribed among the disbelievers. The conception of her blessed seed, divine will decreed that the great truthful one, al-Siddiqa al-Kubra, should descend from the higher kingdom, Malakut, to the human realm, Nasa, and to this inhabited earth, thousands of years after the creation of her light in the upper worlds. In reality, her birth on earth is not considered the beginning of her creation. Rather, it is a second stage of existence, the second manifestation of her light. We should not imagine that the birth of al-Zahra was merely the birth of a blessed and great child on earth. Rather, it represents the birth of the greatest sacred personality and saint of Allah Wali. Allah, when the time for her conception arrived, Allah Almighty commanded his prophet, Gabriel, the angels, and those in paradise to prepare themselves. The trustworthy one, Gabriel, descended to the messenger of Allah and said, "The Most High greets you with peace and commands you to withdraw from Khadija for 40 mornings. This was difficult for the Prophet, but he complied with the command of Allah. He spent 40 days fasting by day and praying by night in the house of Fatima bint Asad. He then sent Amr bin Yasir to Khadija, saying, "O Khadija, do not think that my separation from you is due to desertion or dislike. Rather, my Lord commanded me so that his decree may be fulfilled. Think nothing but good. O Khadija, for Allah boasts of you to his noble angels many times every day. When night falls, lock your door and remain in your bed, for I am staying in the house of Fatima bint Asad." Khadija grieved every day due to the absence of the messenger of Allah. When the 40 days were complete, Gabriel descended and said, "O Muhammad, the Most High greets you with peace and commands you to prepare for his greeting and his gift." The Prophet asked, "O Gabriel, what is the gift of the Lord of the worlds, and what is his greeting?" Gabriel replied, "I have no knowledge." While they were thus engaged, Michael descended with a tray covered by a cloth of silk sundus and placed it before the Prophet. Gabriel approached and said, "O Muhammad, your Lord commands you to break your fast tonight with his food." Usually, when the Prophet intended to break his fast, he would open the door for anyone who wished to join. However, on this night, he prevented anyone from entering, saying, "This food is forbidden to all but me." The Prophet ate from it and drank from the water of paradise, then stood to pray. Gabriel approached him and said, "Prayer is forbidden to you at this time until you go to the house of Khadija and join with her. For Allah has pledged to himself to create from your loins this night a pure progeny." The messenger of Allah hurried to Khadija's house that night. Khadija had retired to her bed and was in a state between sleep and wakefulness when the Prophet knocked on the door. He spoke with the sweetness of his words and the beauty of his speech. "Open, O Khadija, for I am Muhammad." Khadija rose, joyful and optimistic, and opened the door. Usually, upon entering the house, The Prophet would purify himself and pray to brief units of prayer before retiring. But this time he did not. Instead, he took Khadija's hand and retired to bed. From that moment, she felt the weight of the fetus in her womb. Khadija thus became pregnant with al-Zahra. Al-Zahra would speak to her from within the womb, comforting her against the hardships the polytheists inflicted upon the Messenger of Allah. The birth of al-Zahra. The days of pregnancy passed, and the time for al-Zahra's birth arrived. The time when Khadija, like any woman, needed assistance. However, when she had married the Messenger of Allah, the women of Mecca had abandoned her. They would not visit her, greet her, or allow any woman to enter her home. She felt lonely because of this. As labor began, she sent for the women of Quraysh and Banu Hashim to assist her as women assist one another. But they refused, even preventing others from going. Yet Allah was not heedless of her. He aided her, and He is most worthy of doing so. Those polluted with impurity were not fit to serve Khadija in the birth of the human Huri. Allah sent down 4 tall women who looked like the women of Banu Hashim: Sarah, wife of Abraham; Aisha bint Musahim, wife of Pharaoh; Maryam bin Imran, mother of Jesus; and Kaldam, sister of Moses. They attended to Khadija to assist her. Khadija was startled by them, but one said, "Do not grieve, O Khadija, for we are the messengers of your Lord to you." She then introduced herself and the others. They took care of her, and Khadija gave birth to Fatima, pure and purified. When al-Zahra landed upon the ground, a light radiated from her that entered every house in Mecca, leaving no place in the east or the west untouched by that light. The maidens of paradise, Huri, rejoiced, and the people of paradise gave glad tidings to one another. One of the women handed Fatima to Khadija, saying, "Take her, O Khadija, pure, purified, virtuous, and blessed. May blessing be upon her and her progeny." Khadija took her joyfully. The childhood of Fatima and her milk flowed. Spent 5 years of her life in Mecca, with her parents in a beautiful family atmosphere filled with kindness and affection. She assisted her mother in providing a suitable environment for the Prophet to spread Islam. Throughout her childhood, al-Zahra stood by Khadija and the commander of the faithful Ali, supporting the Messenger of Allah to the best of her ability, comforting him, and seeking to serve him in any way possible. Not long after, the happiness of the Prophet's home was interrupted when Khadija fell ill and became bedridden. Al-Zahra suffered and waited for her mother's health to return, especially during prayer times so they could supplicate together. Not long after, the happiness of the Prophet's home was interrupted when Khadija fell ill and became bedridden. Al-Zahra suffered and waited for her mother's health to return, especially during prayer times, so they could supplicate together. However, Khadija's condition worsened, and hope for her survival faded. The Prophet called al-Zahra, who was nearly 5 years old, and counseled her to be patient. Al-Zahra realized she would soon lose her mother. Soon, Khadija passed away, leaving al-Zahra alone in her grief. She would seek refuge with the Prophet, complaining to him of her sorrow, and he would comfort and soothe her. Later, the Prophet was forced to leave Mecca and migrate to Medina due to the persecution he faced after the deaths of Khadija. Taliba. Al-Zahra was temporarily separated from her father and remained with Fatima. Sadly, the migration of Fatima. It was difficult for Fatima to be away from her father even for a short time, and it was equally hard for the Prophet to be away from her. Therefore, before the commander of the faithful Ali migrated to Medina, The Prophet commanded him to bring his daughter Fatima, along with his mother, Fatima bint Asad, and Fatima bint al-Zahra. After returning the Prophet's trusts to their owners, Ali prepared for the journey. The polytheists of Quraysh attempted to intercept them, but he repelled them. They brought Fatima safely to their destination, and al-Zahra was reunited with her father once again.